Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's masterclass on how CIBC turns customer intelligence into business impact. I'm Pat Osorio, co-founder of Birdie, and we are thrilled to host this session because it perfectly aligns with what we see as the future of customer experience, moving beyond traditional surveys and scores to build systematic customer intelligence that actually drives business decisions. Today's format is very simple. Our guests will guide you through their proven methodology and framework in 20 minutes, 25 minutes maybe, and then we'll follow with Q&As for everybody to ask their burning questions about how they did it. So excited to start. Before we go, just very quickly, give you a quick introduction about Birdie. Birdie is a voice of customer insight solution that helps company turn data into insights and to actions that will improve their customer experience. We started this because we saw a lot of challenges in the market, and probably Stephanie and Deepta will touch into a few of them in a few seconds, but feedback siloed in different sources, a lot of manual work to get to granular and actionable insights for decision making, complexity in correlating volume of complaints, tickets, etc., to business metrics like revenue, retention, and so on. And all of that drives to disengagement from stakeholders and a complexity to close the loop and track results. We aim to help with all of that with a solution that uses continuous improvement to first centralize feedback, centralize customer behavior, customer identity, identify opportunities and understand the problems that customers are facing, how much they're impacting the business, how much they're impacting retention, NPS, churn, and so on. So companies can prioritize what you do and then measure the results. Very simply as that. We help companies at the end to make CX more strategic and build a customer-centric culture. Thank you everyone for being here once again. Now, let me introduce your experts and speakers. Stephanie Lejera, Senior Director of CX Strategy, Governance, and Design at CIBC. She's bringing over 30 years of financial services expertise. She's an MBA, CCXP, CCNP, and PMP credentials. She's transformed CX from a reactive function into proactive business intelligence and serves the CXPA Global Board. Deepta Rayner, Senior Director of CX Measurement and Insights, leads VOC programs across all CIBC lines of businesses. With her MBA, CCXP, and PNC2 credentials, she's known for blending data-driven insights with human-centered design to enable real-time customer intelligence. I met those two in another conference. I saw this presentation and I loved it. So I've been asking them for a while to help us and be here to present this content to everybody else. So I hope you guys will enjoy. Stephanie and Deepta, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Pat. We're so happy to be here with all of you today to share our journey. And for us, it really began with purpose. Next slide, please. As a financial institution, we have the responsibility to be there for our clients in those moments that matter most. But we know that every client has a very unique ambition, is at a different life stage, or even about to experience a different life event. And so uncovering and then delivering on those moments that matter most is pivotal not only to their success, but ours. And we know that when this is done right, can be a key differentiator for any organization. Next slide, please. So today we're going to talk to you about our 5 building blocks. Next slide. That really show how we help to bring our purpose to life. Thank you. So this was a multi-year journey and multi-stepped. And we as the CX Enterprise team worked across the organization with all of the different lines of business to deliver on these. We hope that after today's session, you're able to take away some tips to add to your toolkit as you're helping to shape, inform your maturity journey. Today, we're going to talk about the next 5 building blocks. We're going to start with CX culture and share ways in which we embedded this within the DNA and fabric of our organization. Then we're going to talk about how we focused our efforts and how we rallied across the organization to take our understanding of our client and deliver that into client-centric, data-driven decisioning. We're going to talk about how we built influence and earned a seat and a voice at the table. And that was really in the spirit of trying to drive meaningful change across the enterprise. We'll then talk about governance and prioritization and the practices that we embedded to ensure that CX is brought in at the very top of all client-facing initiatives. And then we'll end with continuous improvement. This isn't just about delivering for today, but planning for future-proofing for tomorrow. And with that, I'll pass it over to Deepta to take us through building block number 1. Deepta?
Thank you, Steph. So introducing and embedding a client-centric culture within our DNA was critical to our achieving success. And it really started, I would say, about 5 years ago. The company went through a major rebranding exercise, and you can see it in our new or updated logo at the bottom of the page, but also in our new tagline, which not so new anymore because it's 4 years later, ambitions made real. And really what this speaks to is that, as an organization, we're here in service of our clients, and we really want to make sure that we are enabling them to achieve their goals. And so it really stemmed from that. I would say the other thing that is a very wonderful thing that we have at CIBC is a champion in our own CEO. And this really harkens to the fact that you cannot have a conversation with our CEO, nor even an investor call, without him mentioning customer experience at the very top of the call. So it's quite a thing. It's so powerful to have that message from the very top of the organization. We then set out to create a strategy and a roadmap for customer experience and client experience. And this stemmed, yes, from the branding, but also from that very client-centric view for the organization to say what is important to us, what is important to our line of business partners, and how do we build a strategy and a roadmap that is going to keep clients at the center of all the decisions that we're making. We implemented a listen, learn, act model. And this really is in its most simplest form when we first introduced it, was listening to our clients, learning from the insights that we gleaned, and then acting on those insights to actually enable our line of business partners, whether they're product teams or relationship managers, helping them understand how this feedback can be interpreted and then transition to a strategy for them to actually act on how do we be there for our clients. We also looked at enterprise alignment, and this really comes to looking at how our whole organization is structured and mirroring that with our teams. So that really looks to, if there's a retail line of business, we're going to have a person on our team who is aligned to the retail banking part of our organization, so that we're speaking the same language, so that we are listening to their clients and interpreting the insights in a way that makes sense for them, and really aligning on goals as well. Next, we looked at the Client Experience Index. So many organizations have this. We have our own version. We look at metrics across the organization. Some of them are familiar CX metrics that we all know and love, but we also look at operational metrics and other metrics that make sense for our business. So when you're looking to understand how you can embed CX culture into your organization, really look at what's important to your business and the goals that you have, whether they're strategic or CX focused. Make sure that you have alignment across the organization. The CX index for us really helps us to gain alignment across the organization, regardless of what role you have, whether it's client facing or not. We are all beholden to having some sort of metric that ends up on this index throughout the organization. And last but not least is communication. And communication can mean so many things. It can mean instruction, it can mean alignment, it can mean communication, creating awareness. So whatever that means to your organization in terms of communication, it's educating the people that you're working with across lines of business. It's getting an understanding of and making sure that they're understanding what their role is within CX and how their role affects and impacts client experience across the organization. And it's also about reinforcing messages. So it's not a once and done. Steph had talked about that a little bit earlier. We are continually communicating with our line of business partners, whether it's day-to-day interactions, monthly or quarterly reporting, and even board presentations. We are communicating with all of our partners across the organization and at every level. And so that top-down and bottom-up approach with communication is really key to continually reinforcing the client-centric culture within our DNA. And you know what we didn't mention at the top of the call is that CIBC, for those who are not familiar with who our organization is, we are a major bank in Canada, and there are almost 50,000 employees across the organization. So embedding client-centric culture across 50,000 people is no small feat, and it takes all of these various parts of embedding CX culture. So having the branding, having that CEO champion, the strategy, the model, the enterprise alignment, the index, and communication all together is what really binds us together as an organization. So Steph, over to you.
Thanks, Deepta. All right, next slide, please. Building block number 2 is around focusing our efforts. But how did we get clarity in the noise of data and insights and so on to be able to get a laser focus to deliver seamless client experiences and activate across a large enterprise of almost 50,000 employees to make that happen? So for us, we started by first doing an evaluation of our CX maturity. And so that will look different for everybody. For us, that helped to inform what we're already doing well so we could further optimize and capitalize on it, as well as identify where we had some soft spots and would need to do a double click to be able to augment that. And so working back from our North Star of driving client-centric decisions, we knew that we had a lot to do in order to be able to accomplish that. We went through 3 key stages of maturity to get there. Starting with strategy and priorities, it was essential that from a CX perspective, we first grounded in all of the enterprise goals, objectives, strategies, and then work with all of the lines of business, product teams, channel teams, etc., to interlock our strategies and priorities together. This means we're all pointed in the same direction. It means all roads lead back to the same key things, and it's the same lens that we use when we're designing new products and services. And so the 3 that you see here, very simplistic in language, very challenging to deliver on. Making it easy to bank with us, which is a key tenet, is a no-brainer. This is table stakes. But in a heavily regulated organization, this sometimes can be complicated. Our processes can be onerous. So keeping this at the forefront is critically important. Improving digital journeys also seems like a very basic tenet, but this goes beyond that. This is in the spirit of digital first, but not digital only, based on our client unique needs. It looks at parity, both across online, mobile. What about entering a banking center? What about contacting a contact center? Really trying to get a unique but same CIBC experience, no matter what channel you're interacting with, is critically important. Last, but certainly not least, deepening relationships. For us, this means building emotional loyalty, lifelong clients, increasing client lifetime value. And so everything that we do, focusing on how we can further deepen and enrich our clients' lives. In the next stage, Deepta talked about, we originally had a very basic listen, learn, and act operating model. We had to dial up this capability, both in terms of people, process, but as well as technology. We went from a listening team that did a lot of weather reporting and NPS reporting to an intelligence team that first starts with a business problem and then will target customized listening based on what we're trying to learn. Are our clients' experiences matching our clients' expectations? Are we delivering on our brand promise? It's only when you're asking those questions and then listening specifically for those answers are you really moving to an intelligence team. Next, how do you take a learn team that I'm going to say was predominantly reactive to a team that is delivering decision-ready insights, actionable insights that can be acted on in efficiently as possible, and that hits multiple pain points or multiple friction points, and that represents that triangulated lens from across all of our listening posts. And then act, again, from a very reactive team that would have worked with our partners across the lines of business to perhaps eliminate systemic issues once they were identified, to developing a robust human-centered design practice that looked at the end-to-end life cycle, that proactively designed for effective and efficient processes versus waiting for problems to emerge. And so with these first two stages, that really formed a really strong blueprint from which we could deliver on our 3-year maturity roadmap. And here's what that looked like. We had a very robust survey platform, but we were missing some of our client insights. We had the data, it was disparate across the organization, but how do you bring it into one area? And so we began to ingest within that platform all of our complaints, all of our call transcripts. Now we have more than 20 million data points for our 15 million clients within this data ecosystem. But what do you do with it if it's locked away from any other systems or applications? And so in year 2, our focus was on stitching systems together. So we connected this client ecosystem of data with our frontline CRM tool, with our marketing data lake, with our cloud, so that in year 3, we can enable better decisions, near real-time decisions. And so when we talk about our North Star, what we really mean is personalization. We hear that all the time, but what does that mean? It means we know our clients. We know the life stage that they're at. We know what they've shared with us about a life event, and we're delivering the right offer or the right experience at the right time in the right channel based on near real-time contextualized insights the clients are telling us themselves. And so when we talk about focusing our efforts, this was really the catalyst behind all of that. And it has really transformed our CX enterprise team from a cost center that delivered NPS weather reports to a value center that is actually contributing to business metrics, that's identifying opportunities to improve retention, to drive revenue growth, to reduce opt-out rates. And so this mature strategy really requires a connected roadmap. And so now I'll pass it over to Deepta to talk a bit more about that in our building block number 3.
Thanks, Steph. So building influence across an organization is no small feat. And every CX team in every organization, this is probably one of the things that is hardest to accomplish. How do you become a trusted and valued partner across a large organization? For us, we started with partner relationships. And this really harkens back to what I was talking about earlier in communication. It was educating our business leaders, helping them understand what is CX and why it's important and why they need to care about it and what their role is in it. So it's very much about optimizing that awareness and helping our line of business partners understand that we are also there to support them, right? And in their goals and what they're trying to achieve. So very much establishing partnerships across the organization is so important. And of course, we would start with the, path of least resistance. Who's more receptive to our CX centered capabilities and ways of moving forward in a business. But as we move forward and had that buy-in really from the leadership across the organization, the next thing we did was look at how we interlock our strategies across the organization. And this is a multi-step process. So we actually met with all of the strategic partners across the organization and listen to what is their 3-year roadmap. What does that look like? We listened to them and we took it back to our team to really look at where is the alignment? Where are the synergies between our 3-year roadmap and theirs? And really identify where there were areas where we could focus together. And by doing that, we were able to then go back to the team and replay what we heard and really drive accountability on both sides by interlocking our strategies together where it made sense. I would say the next thing, and these are not all happening in a waterfall, they're all happening at the same time. So when I say the next thing is the leadership forums, it's really not the next thing. They were all kind of happening at the same time, but really looking at who were the key leaders across the organization that had influence, direct influence on customer experience outcomes for the organization. We're talking about at least 30 high-level executives across the organization who meet on a quarterly basis, and we review our results, yes, but we also talk about where we need to mitigate an issue, for example, or where we need to celebrate also all of our really good and hard work that's come to fruition and actually created results, positive results in CX. And this really secured our alignment across the organization in getting all of our key leaders on the same page on a regular basis. This is also, so building that awareness, driving accountability, and securing the alignment. All of these things really led to building credibility and trust across the organization. But it's not those things alone. It's also coming to the table as seasoned experts. We've got a number of varied expertise across the across our team, the CX team, that has now been developed into a center of excellence for our organization. And when we come to the table time and time again with the insights across the organization, it's that consistency in delivering those insights and helping the lines of business take action is where the influence is achieved. And so really it's building that credibility over time and being extremely consistent in how we're able to communicate and partner across the organization. Steph, I'm going to let you go because I know we're getting a little bit long on time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Deepta. Next slide, please. Now we'll jump into everybody's favorite topic, governance and prioritization. So how did we go about proactively engaging CX in all client-facing enterprise projects? It began with the influence we built that Deepta just talked about. the seat and voice that we earned at the table, the friendly engagements across the organization. And that was no small feat. But let me tell you the journey that we went on. We'll start with CX being reactive. This is probably familiar to many of you. Earlier days, we were far more reactive. A client would have an interaction, face some sort of friction or irritant, hopefully let us know in some form of complaint or negative NPS survey. And then we'd get involved to help triage if we identified it was a systemic issue. This is far too late in the process, does not help with proactive design. And so we knew we had a lot of work to do. And so building off the key relationships we had built, we worked starting with our finance team and our enterprise project management office to look at the enterprise delivery framework and see how we could go about embedding CX. And so leveraging those relationships, we got buy-in, starting with integrating the client experience assessment at the very top of the delivery framework. What this means is that if projects and teams and initiatives want seed funding for an initiative, they have to go through a CX assessment. This is part of the gating process. Next, we do a risk assessment. Now, this is not just a general client risk assessment. This is a touch point risk assessment. We do journey designs. We look at each of the touch points along the way and we measure the risk. But we didn't recreate the wheel. We partnered with our friends in risk management and we leveraged a lot of the same mechanisms, language, and so on, so that it would be familiar and very easily adaptable. I talked a little bit about human-centered design earlier and what this means. This means we took just basic journey mapping exercises and really trained up our design practice so that it was very robust. We're now co-creating with our partners across the enterprise in HR, service design, process optimization, process engineering, to get a 360 view of the experience. We're looking at both the employee experience as well as the client experience at all of those touch points. We all know that a strong EX drives a strong CX. And so by having that 360 lens, we're planning for and anticipating and even eliminating any unnecessary friction to mitigate before things go live. And last is operational readiness. We have a really comprehensive dress rehearsal process. We bring together 25 or more cross-functional executives from across the enterprise. We stress test all new client experiences. We poke holes in it. We assess our operational readiness. Do we have the right marketing communication plan, people change management, capacity plan, bums and seats, FAQs? It's a very comprehensive and collaborative process, which I think is very, very unique. But listen, governance is daunting. It isn't sexy. It's hard to do. And it requires a lot of collaboration and champion. And again, our key enabler is the fact that our CEO is such a champion of CX. That first step, embedding within our culture, was really a key enabler for all of these other steps. All right, Deepta, let's take it home with our last pillar.
Thanks, Steph. All right, so here we are at continuous improvements. Steph said at the very top of this conversation that it's not a one and done. You've got to continually improve what it is that you've built, and that's what we're doing. And so it all starts with people, as is with any organization, and we are continuously upskilling our team. We have not only team learning plans, but we also have individual learning plans. So whether it is research or design skills, storytelling, all of that helps with upskilling our team. And we do have a team of very diverse skills. We've got researchers on my side, Steph's got designers, and we've got expert analysts all across our organization. And that really helps having those diverse skill sets and perspectives that they can bring to the table. But you can have all the greatest people. You still need to have processes in place. And Steph talked quite a bit about that just now on sort of the governance, as well as some of the processes that we have in terms of when we have funded projects in the organization. We actually review hundreds of projects to understand, is there going to be a customer experience, client experience impact? What is that impact, and how can we mitigate anything that might disturb a client experience in any way, shape, or form? And finally, it's technology. There's always sort of that new shiny object, and AI has been getting a lot of buzz as of late. And of course, that's important to invest in the future capabilities of your organization. But at the same time, we are constantly looking to our existing technology to understand how we can maximize our current capabilities. And that is really the key to helping us with continuous improvement. Steph and I all both agree it comes to people, process, and technology. It's all three things, and no one thing is going to get you to that finish line. It requires really focused efforts across all three to accomplish that. Steph, do you want to bring us home?
Thanks, Deepta. All right, so here is the toolkit that certainly helped to influence our maturity journey. I hope that you were able to take something away today to help shape yours. I want to be clear, this was not easy. This wasn't without a ton of pivots, sharp corners to overcome, iterations, etc. But if you have a really detailed plan, champions, collaborators, and you're on that same journey together, following this really helped for us to bring this to life. And if I can leave you with one practical piece of advice, this is also not a one-size-fits-all. Your strengths and opportunities are going to be in different areas. Progress over perfection would be my mantra. Look at where you can make an impact first. That's usually how you get buy-in or people excited and so on along the journey. But be prepared to iterate and fail fast and learn fast. And I think what's really key is that we really parked our egos. We were here in service of our partners. We democratized the data and the insights. It wasn't our data and insights, it's their data and insights. And so we don't see ourselves as CX leaders who understand the business. We're business leaders who use CX insights to help influence decisions and drive meaningful change. And by speaking the business language, and as I said, parking our egos, it really helps to lower down any walls that people might have and helps with the collaboration and bringing this to life. So thank you again for joining Deepta and I today, and we're happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. That was amazing. I loved, that's very powerful. Like, we're business leaders. So that I 100% agree with that. I love the way that you put together the framework and all the steps. So hopefully everybody will live here with some homework to do and execute based on that. We have a few questions. Hopefully we'll be able to cover all of them in the last few minutes. Because you mentioned that, I'll start with the last one that we got. Michael said, as the finance guy, and I love that, I have to ask if there has been any ability to track and measure ROI.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a finance guy on our team as well. So Deepta talked about all the different resources. We have a CPA, and so he definitely keeps us honest, and he's very conservative, and so we're never able to overinflate. And so yes, I would say in different areas, certainly collaborating with the contact center, our insights help to inform hundreds of thousands of call deflection opportunities, right? And so based on your cost per contact center is a very expensive channel, as we all know. It doesn't take a lot of calls to mitigate to get in the $1 million range. And so that's one of the areas in which we were able to really solidify and prove ROI was in call deflection. That was one of them. I would say the next one that we're working on right now to bring to life is sales opportunities. And so we are partnering with our digital marketing team to provide near real-time sentiment to help inform decisioning. We're generating leads lists based on our listening. So we've, again, 20 million contact center calls, complaints, etc. We're listening for clients telling us, I'm thinking of buying a home. I'm having a baby. We want to start an investment education plan. Listening for all of those things and creating targeted lists for our marketing friends really helps drive ROI very quickly. So there's two examples.
Nice. And that's a great example, turning CX from a cost center, as a lot of companies see, and I don't agree, but I understand that perspective, to a revenue center. Like, how can we drive growth from understanding our customers? So that's impressive. Congratulations. Well, another question, and I think Deepta touched a bit on that, but like that was an interesting one. Was there any area inside the business that was more reluctant to adopt the process and to use CX insights? And how did you solve that? How did you address that?
So, Steph, I'll start, but you'll probably jump in and finish off. I would say that our team is very good at identifying we call them friendlies across the organization, and start with the folks who are aligned with a client-centered view first, if you're just starting out, right? And then you will build credibility as you work through the organization. We didn't start with, 20 programs across 20 different parts of the lines of the organization. You start with one and you keep building on that. And so Steph said very early on the call, start small. You don't have to go big from day one. If you start small with a part of the organization that is receptive and willing and enthusiastic about client-centric culture, you're going to win.
Perfectly said.
All right, great. Another question from Julia. What advice would you give to CX leaders who are still fighting for that seat in the table, for that voice, to use it as strategic decisions?
Yeah, so I think the start small and share a small win is definitely your foray into a seat at the table. It sounds like we're repeating a bit of the answer, but it really is leverage your friendlies. There's got to be somebody in one of your partner groups who is really passionate about insights and trying to leverage that to drive a win. Let it be their win. This is not about CX winning. This is about the enterprise winning, the client winning. And so our role is about democratizing insights in as meaningful a way as possible, which is why we call them decision ready or actionable. That really means they can take it away and act on it because it's been thought out, evaluated, rationalized, and so on. If you do that enough times, you're going to have people calling you. And that's the position we are now, is we have more work than we know what to do with, because our partners are beating down our door for design practice, for custom studies, for insights, for decisioning, and so on. So it is a great place to be, but start small and you'll get there.
Perfect. That's actually a question for me before I go to the next one, but it made me think. We oftentimes hear people saying, and you mentioned the contact reduction as one of the results that you had, but I hear a lot like, oh, I already know my top problems. I already know my top contact reasons or anything like that. So why would I need a program or anything like that? Did you hear that at some point, and how did you address that?
Yes. So when we first started to share data and insights, it's a natural instinct for somebody to say, oh my goodness, why is somebody coming to tell me my business? I know my business. So people did get their backs up at first, right? Which is why I mentioned earlier about parking egos. As soon as they realized that we were here in service of them, we were simply sharing their data back to them, but transformed with insights. that they're here to take the win. We're not here to take the win. We're just a partner in this piece of work. Because again, we're not funding contact center improvements, marketing improvements, banking center improvements, right? Businesses still have to secure funding, write business cases, prioritize. We are here to help inform and bolster business cases with rationalized insights and data and so on. So they see us as a partner instead of somebody who's trying to come in to tell them their business. So it's really about the approach, the framing, the attitude, the collaboration. It really is both in terms of the what and the how you approach it.
Perfect. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. And then to our final question, and then we'll be able to end perfectly on time. Hemant asked, what is the biggest mistake you see other organizations making, or even yourselves when you started, when trying to build this influence?
So, Steph, I can, I would say, again, I think we're kind of repeating ourselves a little bit, but trying to boil the ocean instead of starting with something small. It is really key, is find a good business problem that you need to solve with a partner who is a friendly, and you build from there. When you start to take on too much too quickly is when it can backfire.
Try to just focus on one thing, whether that is the biggest systemic problem, whether it's the easiest proof point to validate. Start with one thing, one partner, and then that you can kind of build momentum and credibility from there.
Perfect. Love it. Yeah, because you need that result, you need that win, that success to motivate everybody else to go after, as you guys said. Like once you build that with one, then instead of you trying to push, everybody will come to you because they will want to get the same results, right? I love it. And a lot of times we make these mistakes. We want to do like a big bang implementation or like do everything all at once, and normally that doesn't work at all. Love it. Cool. All right, guys, we have a couple of minutes left, but those are all the questions we had. Every time I see this presentation, I learn from you. So like, thank you again for sharing your time, for sharing your knowledge. People might ask questions later because this is recorded. So I will try to route them over to you. And once again, thanks everybody for being here. Thank you both. And I wish you all a great rest of your week.
Thanks so much.